everyone, how are you all today? Welcome to another episode of Podcast Empowerment Evolution. And in this episode, we will be discussing about emotional intelligence, which is a very crucial aspect that has gained a lot of attention in the recent years. We'll also explore why it is important and, how does it relate to spirituality. How does emotional intelligence and spirituality connect together to help us live a life of impact? And like every other episode, we'll also discuss the techniques, frameworks, and I'll also state out some strategies for you to improve your emotional intelligence. This is your host, Nishita. I am a certified life coach, and I would request all of you to relax, sit, and let's get started. Now, what is emotional intelligence? Emotional intelligence is it's referred to as EI or EQ. It's the ability to recognize, understand, and manage our own emotions and also the emotions of other people, of everyone around us. It's the ability to use these emotions to guide our thinking and behavior in a positive and a productive way. Right. And what are so emotional intelligence is basically it has four very key components that we need to discuss. One, self awareness, which is the ability to recognize our own emotions, strengths, and weaknesses. Self regulation, which is the ability to manage our emotions and behaviors in a very healthy and productive way. Social awareness, it's the ability to recognize and understand the emotions of other people around us and to empathize with their experiences. Fourth element is relationship management, which is the ability to use our social awareness and regulation skills to build and maintain healthy relationships. So, four key elements: self awareness, self regulation, social awareness, and relationship management. Developing emotional intelligence. It can have a profound impact on our personal and professional lives. In our personal lives, EI can help us develop stronger and more meaningful relationships. It can help us communicate more effectively, resolve conflicts, and very very peacefully, in a very peaceful way. It can help us resolve conflicts and thus helping us build deeper connections with our own selves and with the people around us. In professional lives also, EI can be a very key factor in our success. It helps us become better leaders. In the coming episodes, I'm going to talk a lot about emotional intelligence and leadership. But for now, let's focus on how it relates to spirituality and how it can help us improve, our own self and our own practices in our daily life. So let's get started on EI and spirituality. Emotional intelligence, spirituality are two interconnected concepts that can greatly influence your growth and well-being. EI refers to the ability to recognize, understand, and manage our emotions and the other people. Spirituality, on the other hand, refers to our inner journey towards the meaning, purpose, and connection with something that's greater than ourselves. At first glance, EI and spirituality may not seem very related. However, both the concepts involve a very deep understanding and acceptance of our inner experiences. Now, emotional intelligence requires us to become aware of our emotions and manage them in a healthy and productive way. Similarly, spirituality involves exploring our inner experiences and emotions to understand what our true nature is and what our life purpose is. One way in which both of them relate or intersect is through the practice of mindfulness. Mindfulness is an act of being present and fully engaged in the current moment without any judgment or distractions. When we practice mindfulness, we develop a greater awareness of our thoughts, our emotions, and our bodily sensations. This can help us build better EI, by learning to observe these emotions without being overwhelmed by them. It can support us in our spiritual growth by helping us become more aware of the present and connect with our inner self. Why I say it's important is because, for example, there are people, for example, I'm an overthinker, I know, and my emotions are usually on the surface, and whenever something happens, I tend to, my reactions are very visible. But whenever a situation of conflict arises, in the last year, or in fact, very, to be precise, in the last month, I have practiced being mindful. Of course, after the conflict has happened, I've made sure to sit down, observe the incident from the third perspective, and connect with my emotions. I am the only person in the whole world who will not judge me. Likewise, you are the only person in the world who won't judge you. So, being mindful of the situation, being mindful of the emotions without being judgmental about them will help you in your spiritual growth, will really help you observe your feelings, understand the trigger point, and connect to your inner self much more deeply. Emotional intelligence will also support your growth by helping you develop greater empathy and compassion for others. Like emotional intelligence is also about understanding other people's emotions, right? And that helps us develop empathetic nature. It helps us develop compassion. When we become aware of these emotions, we can understand and relate to the emotions of other people as well. When we become aware of the pain, of the things that can hurt us or the other people, we become very mindful of the things that we do or the words that come out of our mouth, and thus develop more compassion. This will help you develop meaningful relationships. You'll be able to understand their story and develop a deeper connection with the other person. You become more connected to the world that's around us. By developing AI, we become more aware of the interconnectedness among everything, and which is a very key component of traditional, spirituality. What are the strategies that helps us develop AI? We've understood what AI is, we've understood how it helps us in our spiritual growth. Let's see how we can build our AI. AI is, like I said, a very crucial concept, right? For spiritual growth. It helps us understand, manage our emotions, develop empathy and compassion. Let's explore some strategies that can help us build AI. As a life coach, I've helped people develop their emotional intelligence, and the foremost strategy that I suggest them is being mindful. Mindfulness is paying attention to the present moment. Now, it shouldn't be difficult. It sounds very easy to do, but honestly, it's very difficult to apply in life. You're always distracted, especially in today's times. One is always distracted or judgmental by nature. Mindfulness is you not getting distracted and judgmental about the present situation. It's a very powerful tool to develop AI, and it makes us aware of our emotions, of our feelings, and how they can affect us. We should practice mindfulness very regularly. We should learn to observe these emotions without reacting to them and develop a greater self-awareness and emotional regulation. Another key strategy is self-compassion. It involves treating ourselves with a lot of kindness and understanding. Like I said, you treat yourself the way you would treat a friend or any loved one is the first and foremost thing. So self-compassion is exactly that. Self-compassion is treating ourselves with a lot of love and acceptance, especially when times are difficult. This can be extremely challenging for most of us. Anyone, be it, in fact, us as well, people who teach that it's also challenging for us. However, by developing self-compassion, we learn to be more gentle, with ourselves, and develop greater resilience, emotional resilience. This helps us stay grounded, and connected to the practices, to spiritual practices, even when difficult emotions arise. So make sure that you have time for self-care, self-compassion, and so very, very important thing is oftentimes in our lives we become our own harshest critics. We don't have to do that. In fact, we should be the first person to love ourselves the most. So don't be very harsh on yourself. Practice self-compassion so you develop that emotional resilience. The third strategy I have here, which I usually suggest in my daily life as well, and I practice it, is empathetic listening. It's actively listening to others and seeking to understand their perspective and emotions. Every time a difficult situation arises, we say that no, that's not true, no, that's not it, how it happens, you don't have to react like that. That's not empathetic listening. Your experience will be very different from somebody else's experience. Practicing empathetic listening is an extremely powerful tool to develop relationships and emotional resilience. We learn to better connect with others and develop compassion for them, which is very important, and it is obviously connected with spirituality and helps us in developing healing. So empathetic listening, and we can do it anytime. We can do it any day, in office, in our homes, in our personal life. Empathetic listening is foremost, and it's easy to practice, honestly. Try it once with anyone in your life, and it's going to change your relationship with that person. The fourth strategy I have here is journaling. It's my favorite strategy, like always I say. It involves writing down our thoughts and emotions in a journal. This can be a very powerful tool to develop self-awareness and your emotional regulation. Journaling can help identify patterns in your life, and there are negative patterns and positive patterns. You can obviously break the negative patterns by journaling them, and you can improvise on the positive patterns by understanding why these patterns are repeating. You can make it a point to take those habits, take those learnings, and apply them in other situations as well. Journaling regularly is an amazing way to vent out your emotions. I have two journals that I maintain every day. One is a gratitude journal wherein I write everything that I'm grateful for, and the other is a brain dump journal, and I've legit named it as a brain dump journal. Brain dump journal was suggested to me by one of my favorite life coaches, which is Anushka, and she's amazing. She's like an angel in my life, and she suggested to create a brain dump journal. Anything that's a negative pattern in your life or that's negatively happened, write it down in the brain dump journal, and by the year end or whenever your book fills, throw the damn notebook away. Just throw it away. Throw it away like you're throwing all your negative thoughts, you're throwing all your negative experiences. And you'll gradually see that your gratitude journal will start filling up much higher than your brain dump journal, which is going to be extremely fulfilling. Try it once, maintain those journals. Now, this is a very interesting part where I'm going to help you with a framework on developing emotional intelligence. And for this framework, I focused on the four main elements of nature: earth, water, fire, and air. They are part of the spiritual traditions already. They are part of the practices throughout history. Each element is associated with a different quality and aspect of nature and can be used as a framework for understanding and developing your emotional intelligence. Now, emotional intelligence in context of the element earth represents self-awareness. Earth is associated with grounding, stability, and being present in the moment. When we focus on developing self-awareness, we are essentially working on grounding ourselves in the present moment, and becoming more aware of our thoughts, emotions, our physical sensations. And this involves practices like mindful meditation, journaling, self-reflection, and helps us become more aware and understanding of our emotional triggers and patterns, and obviously thus helping us build more emotional regulation and resilience. So connect earth with grounding Do those self-awareness grounding activities like meditation, journaling and everything, and you'll gradually understand why is it important. For example, a lot of people, they wake up in the morning and they stand barefoot on the ground, they stretch their arms. Honestly, I think they just take that beautiful energy from earth up their body, and it's amazing. You wake up so active, you wake up so happy. Tell yourself a couple of positive affirmations, define how you want your day to be, and see it. Just see that day unfold in one of the most beautiful ways. Talking about the next element, water, which represents empathy. I've talked so much about empathy in this episode. I'm going to continue it in the further as well. It's associated with fluidity, emotional feelings, and the interconnectedness. When we focus on developing empathy, we are essentially working on connecting with others and understanding their emotions. This can involve practices like empathetic listening and putting ourselves in other people's shoes. By practicing compassion, by developing empathy, we can be more attuned and emotional to the needs of others. That can help us build strong relationships and contribute to a greater sense of community, contribute to the world, live a life of bigger impact, for in the future. The third element is fire, and I will definitely associate and always associate fire with self compassion. Fire is associated with warmth, energy, and transformation. Uh, Self compassion is represented by fire. When we focus on developing self compassion, we are working on treating ourselves with kindness, understanding, love, acceptance, especially during difficult times. Extremely important. This involves practicing self talk, positive self talk. Please make sure to have positive self conversations with yourself, self care. Practice forgiveness, forgiving yourself for things that you did or you didn't do, and practicing forgiveness for other people. Develop compassion. We learn to be more gentle with ourselves and develop greater emotional resilience that can help us stay grounded and connected during our spiritual practices, even when the most difficult emotional situations come up in your life. You can still stay connected, and you know by focusing on self compassion, you will be able to manage your emotions better, which is part of self regulation. Air, the fourth element of this framework, represents relationship management. Air is associated with communication, clarity, and movement. When we focus on developing relationships management skills, we are essentially working on using our AI to build and maintain healthy relationships with others. You know, this involves practices like assertive communication, conflict resolutions, and empathetic listening. By developing relationship management skills, we can become an effective communicators, leaders, and collaborators that helps us build stronger, supportive communities and contribute to greater sense of the purpose of your own life purpose. I just conclude all of these points because this has been a lot and I should be talking about this in the coming episodes in more details. There are four elements of that this framework is built on: fire, self-compassion; air, representing relationship management; water, representing your own, your own empathy, how empathetic you are; and of course, earth, representing grounding and how self-aware you are. So, this framework can be very powerful for developing EI for your own spiritual growth. You focus on self awareness, empathy, compassion, and your relationships, and develop greater EI, greater emotional resilience, regulation of your own emotions, and become connected to your inner selves, your others, and something greater, much, much greater than our own selves. I'll just conclude this episode by saying that EI is a very, very huge concept and very crucial component of spiritual growth. there are more strategies and frameworks available on the internet for you to work on, but listing here a few so you can practice them in your daily life are practicing mindfulness, practicing self-compassion, empathetic listening, journaling, and using those four elements to work on yourself. In fact, I have an idea here. Why not make a wheel of life for these four elements with the categories that they associate most with and rate yourself? Wheel of life is a very adjusting concept of life coaching, wherein you have a wheel and you make yourself some good pizza slices on that wheel and rate yourself with as per the areas that affect you from 0 to 10, 10 being the highest and 0 being the lowest. For this framework, I suggest make a wheel of life, put it into four pieces, rate yourself from air, water, fire, and earth in those aspects and see where you stand. Work on these four elements and see how you change, how you transform in 1 month. You'll develop amazing qualities by practicing this. You'll stay connected with something much greater than your own selves. And you can let me know in the comments how did this affect you. Anyway, and this topic is huge. I just loved sharing this framework with you. It's a very insightful framework. Thank you so much for listening to this podcast on developing emotional intelligence for spiritual growth. Until next time, people, stay mindful and keep journaling.